Impromptu pros and cons. What do I mean by impromptu? Impromptu means spontaneous or immediate. No time to plan, no planning, no writing out the script, no chance or time to research. You have to give the presentation now. An impromptu presentation strategy that I'm going to tell you about is called pros and cons. And this is how it goes. First, you have an idea or a proposal or a suggestion. You have to introduce that idea. Then, if you like the idea, you give either pros or cons or pros. Now, the reason I'm saying that in this way, I want you to guess. If you like the idea, what do you give first? The pros and then the cons? Or the cons and then the pros? If you like the idea, you give the cons first, the pros second. Why? Because people remember what you say last. Let me say that again. People remember what you say last. And this is true in all presentations. So, and in fact, even in communication, people will remember the last thing you say. So my suggestion is, with pros and cons, if you like the idea, the first thing you talk about is the cons and then the pros, because that's what supports you. So if you dislike the idea or proposal or suggestion, you give the pros first, then the cons. Again, people remember what you say last. They'll remember the cons. Now here's an important aspect that you need to remember. For that first group, you must be honest. Let me say that again. That first group, you must be honest, because that first group does not support your position. In fact, that first group is in contrast to the position that you think the idea or suggestion or proposal is good. So, the first group is opposite. The second group supports your idea. Let me give you an example. Living in Tokyo. So someone said, Gary, what do you think about living in Tokyo? That's the idea. Well, let's look at the pros and cons of living in Tokyo. Now, I love Tokyo, so I'm going to give you the cons first and the pros second. So let's first look at the cons, at the disadvantages. Well, there are 22 million people in Tokyo. It's the largest city in the world and one of the most dense cities in the world. So, there's people everywhere. As a result, there are cars everywhere. So, beep, 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 and there's buses and trucks, and then subways and trains. There's a lot of pollution as far as noise goes. There's a lot of air pollution. And it's expensive. It's one of the most expensive cities in the world. But, here comes the pros. But, Tokyo is an international city. And what that means is, you can find almost every kind of food that you hope to find in Tokyo. You can find restaurants of all kinds as well that serve all kinds of food. Shopping, you can find all brands of shopping here in Tokyo. But most important are the people. The people make Tokyo the safest city in the world. I can with no hesitation have my wife go any place, day or night in Tokyo, and be safe. People are honest. I've actually left my briefcase with a camera and money on the subway. Nobody took it. I was able to recover it within 24 hours. That's Tokyo. The people are kind and considerate, and it's one of the safest, if not the safest city in the world. So I think Tokyo is a great city. Notice I was honest about that first group. Too many people, very dense, expensive, lots of noise pollution and air pollution. I was honest about that. That makes your impromptu presentation strategy of pros and cons reasonable and believable, much more than if you just give all pros. They'll think, oh, well, Gary really thought about the negative parts as well as the positive parts about living in Tokyo. So that's what you want to do. When you give pros and cons, if you like the idea, cons first, pros second. If you dislike the idea, pros first, cons second. Why? Because people remember what you say last. Pros and cons. Thank you.